So now we will continue on the next sutra. Good time, Shanti? Perfect.
Thank you.
I'm always about two posters. And that's the way it works. Just go with the flow. Whatever needs to be said for some reason will be said, you know. And this is it. So anyway, that's in January. Anybody's interested, please let Shanti know. We're quickly filling out.
Yes, very quickly.
And so, you know, let her know. It'll be 6 days intensive, 9:30 to 4:30.
How many people are taking the course together?
Well, the limit I put is 25, but I think we've got 22 already.
Yeah, already.
So I'm raising it to 30.
Yeah.
Because I don't know when I can do it again in Spain, or maybe the next one I'd like to do in Gibraltar, but I don't know when. Maybe in October or November, because the first part of next year I have a lot of traveling to do. So, so that's it. And anybody who's taken before, come gratis. And whatever you want to donate to the charity, just do. Those are, but you stay behind because my attention will be with the new ones. But anybody else who's taken it before, you're very welcome to just.
We're gonna fit.
Of course, we can fit
We
anything.
fit 60.
60
With Jamie Cattle, we
Yeah.
fit over 60, just over 60 people.
Yeah, we've had 60 over there. There's no problem. And with Devamani's wedding, wasn't that over
Yes.
50 or 60 people? Yeah. So, what's the track?
Right, you're 137, page sort of 38.
Thank you, Shanti. Okay, 38. Ooh, this is the one that always causes a lot of trouble. By one established in continence, vigor is gained. Okay, what does continence mean? You know, when you're incontinent, you all know what it means. You don't have control of the lower areas of the lower gates, the yogis call them, of the body. When you're incontinent, you have no control over the lower gates of your body. Now, by the practice of continence, vigor is gained. Here it talks about continence as having control over those gates of your body. In Sanskrit, this word is called Brahmacharya. And Brahma means God or divine energy, and Charya means student of the divine energy. So actually, the word Brahmacharya means student of the divine. In order to be a student of the divine, you need vigor, you need energy, and you need control over your lower senses. It has so in time been translated as celibacy. So many people translate Brahmacharya as celibacy. I translate it with some other teachers that I have spoken with as moderation. For me, it had become so apparent over the years that I've worked with marriages breaking down that in a relationship, when there is too much sex on one side, there is always a problem. When there's too little, there's also a problem. I've seen it. In the beginning, of course, the early years are always very exciting, and you know, and we have in the Hindu culture as well, they tell us there's the 4 phases of life. The first phase is, they actually call it Brahmacharya, being a student of God, where you are really in control of your sexual energy. Why? Because you need the vigor to study. You know, for example, footballers, I don't know if you know that, or athletes, when they are about to do a great race or football game, they're told not to have any sex. I don't know if you know this, but yeah, to get the vigor. I did an experiment when I first studied this sutra because I wanted to know, I always wanted to know whether things are really true or does it really make sense, you know. I never take anybody's word for it. So I was teaching a group of teenagers, and I asked them, you know, and let's be honest, it was 17 and 18, and I knew they were having a relationship. So, and their studies weren't that good. So I spoke to them about Brahmacharya. And I said, look, I want to do an experiment with you guys. you willing to do it for me and tell me? So they were young, and they said, okay, Nalanie. I said, will you do me a favor? You're going for your, it was the A-levels. I said, you're going for your A-levels. You both have bad marks, and you both have told me that the reason is that you can't stop being with each other, right? So, can we do an experiment just to prove if this science works or not? As it's going to be really tough. Can I ask you to practice, not like every day, but moderation? And when you're not together, can you take this energy and try to focus on your studies? As it's an experiment. And you know, when you tell young people it's an experiment, and they want to disprove you or prove you, whatever, it really does work on their minds. So this lovely couple, they were really sweet. They said, we'll do it now. We really want to find out ourselves. We're really curious about spiritual knowledge and what we want to do with our future. So they decided to practice Brahmacharya, or, you know, a little bit of celibacy over 4 months. And the first 2 weeks was hell for them. They came and complained, and I said, yeah. But you know, I did tell you, it's like anything else. You know, if you go on a diet, the first 3 days are the worst, aren't they? They're terrible. You're just like, oh, I'm starving, I need food. But if you get through the first 3 days of a detox diet, I don't know if any of you have done it, the 4th day becomes much easier. It's kind of like the course. The first 3 days, so much stuff. And after that, it gets much easier. So I said, it'd get much easier. And it did. It did. And in fact, their grades went up. They had more energy. They said because they had so much fun the previous months that they had no energy left to study. They were always, I am tired. I'm so exhausted. So they realized they had so much more energy. And in fact, they did really well for the A-levels. And they came, of course, I'm not going to tell you any details, but they allowed me to tell this about the experiment. So that was one of the experiments. And, but throughout my life later on, like I said, I learned from other people's relationships and other patients that I saw that too much of something spoiled a relationship, and too little of something also spoiled a relationship. And when there was an imbalance in the relationship, it created a lot of problems. So what happens then when people go through difficult times in their relationship, if they do not have control over the senses, especially the lower gates of the body? Lust is a very powerful thing. They say the most 2 powerful things that drive man or woman crazy are lust and food. They create great addictions. So if you have no control over the lower gates of your body, what happens? Things go wrong in a relationship. And immediately, what goes? You'll go outside for fun. You'll go outside looking. Temptation comes easily. Temptation comes very easily. And what happens if you have no control over it? If you're not able to master it in your own life, how are you going to master it anywhere else? And it just says, what happens is you lose control of your senses. And then, and I have seen, and once you've had that adulterous relationship, it's damaged the person's whole life. There's lies, there's discomfort, there's anger, there's distrust, there's fear, and for me, the worst thing of all, I don't mind any of those, there's no peace. And I think that's the biggest sacrifice one makes when they don't have this knowledge. So here it says, when you practice Brahmacharya, so when you have times in your relationship, say, when things are not going so well, don't get so frustrated and angry. Maybe it's teaching you to learn to control your senses a bit. And then what you do is you gently repair the problem. You see, in the olden days, there wasn't birth control, right? So people were more careful. Today, there is so much promiscuity. And this is the cause of many of our problems and many diseases. Many diseases. We have AIDS because, all the, don't you, when you walk to Spain and you see the roundabouts, always prostitutes there. Even the other day I felt sad when my granddaughter, who was only 10, I was giving her a lift home, and she said, Granny, I feel so sad that the prostitutes are on the side of the road. And there's a 10-year-old telling her, she's going to be 11, she's 11 now, sorry, her birthday party's tomorrow. And I said, yeah, how did you know about that? She said, no, we asked Mom, and Mom never lies to us. And I said, yeah, it's quite sad, isn't it? She said, yeah, I think, how horrible, Granny, that they let anybody use their bodies. You know, how horrible. And you know, I was glad that she had said that to me. I said, yes, because if you don't respect your body, what can you respect in your life? I had a case many years ago as well. I had this young lady who was about 25 or 26, and for no reason at all, she had become literally anorexic. And her parents took her to many doctors, and they didn't know what was wrong with her. And normally you always say, there's something wrong in the family, the parents are not getting on, it comes from the parents, you would think. So I asked her parents in, and her parents were lovely. So I said, why is she suddenly developed anorexia the last 2 years? You know, so I was talking to her, and I said, tell me something about your life. Tell me something, what is it that you don't like? You're a beautiful girl. You just told me you have a wonderful boyfriend, and you have great parents. You have a good job. What is causing this? I'm deeply troubled. I really don't know. And I said, talk to me. So she started talking to me. I said, do you ever take drugs in your life? And then she said to me, yes, from the ages of 17 to 20, I took a lot of drugs. And, you know, she said, Nalanie, I didn't do very nice things. I said, but, you know, I'm not here to judge you. We just want to get to the bottom of the problem. She said, well, I slept around. I used to go to Nalania. There were these bubble pop phone parties. I don't know what they were called. But anyway, I learned so much about stuff from my patients. She said, and she said, and I know this goes on all the time, and you guys probably know it more than I do, you know? So, and she said, and you know, every weekend I would sleep with a different guy, but I really had a good time at that time. And I really didn't think there was anything wrong. Everybody did it. Everybody did it. And she said, and I said, how long did this go on for? She said, well, 2 or 3 years, and then one day I just got sick. I came home and I started vomiting. And I felt, I didn't want to do this anymore. I said, okay, good. And now you say you got a very good boyfriend. Yeah, how long have you met him? About 4 years. So why? So I said, can I suggest something to you? And then she said, yes. And I said, do you like your body? I hate it. It's dirty. Why do you think it's dirty? Because I slept around so much. I said, listen, I'm asking you the questions. I want to learn. I said, yes. And I said, okay, because that's what I'm figuring from you. And your boyfriend? Oh, I'm just his second girlfriend. He's a really good guy. You don't believe you deserve him, do you? No. But I love him so much, and I want to be the best for him. So do you know what she was doing? Have you guessed? She was so disgusted that she thought if she died, she didn't have to face any problems. Because she didn't deserve him. He didn't deserve her. So there's no escape. She was in love with him, he was in love with her, so why not just don't eat and die? Because I'm such a dirty, horrible person. So I explained to her a little bit about the sutra. And I said, no, you know, it's not your fault. You didn't understand. You had no idea what was going on. And yes, maybe you did some horrible things with your body that makes you feel ashamed now, but now you're a good girl. And now you control your senses. You must forgive your past and let it go. Why would you want to lose your life now when everything is working for you? Then she started bursting out crying. God is going to punish me. I'm a good Catholic girl. I'm horrible. But then all that came out. And she sobbed and she sobbed and she sobbed. And I said, you know, and I always love to use this line from the New Testament. It's one of my favorite lines. I said, when Peter asked Lord Jesus, how many times should we forgive? And Lord Jesus answered him, 70 times 7. Does not a Father in heaven do more for you each day? And when I told her that, she just couldn't believe it. There was a peace that ran through her, just a peace. And I said, you're already forgiven. You just have to forgive yourself. And you know what? You made the mistake, just don't do it again. I said, now you look after your lovely man that you have been gifted. You see, she was ready to give away a gift that was so beautiful for her, that would make her life so complete. Do you know, after that day, she gradually put on weight, she got better, and more anorexia. So, for me, I learned a lot about, the depths. We say Brahmacharya, people say celibacy and don't do this. So a lot of people, when they go into spiritual life, like I had a gentleman once who was going into spiritual life, and he goes, oh, the scriptures say Brahmacharya. I said, but the scriptures are written for, these scriptures, at least the Yoga Sutras, were written for a group of people who were monks at that time. And very few people studied at these places, or for kings before they went back to become king, princes before they went to become kings, because they had to learn to control all their senses so they could be great kings, so that they would treat their wives well, treat their families well, and and not cause trouble. So this kind of knowledge was meant for those kind of students. But he said, no, Nalanie, I want to practice Brahmacharya. So I said to him, have you talked to your wife about it? You have her to consider too. She is your wife. Does she want to do this? Well, she just has to follow me. And I looked at him and I said, how can you call yourself my student when you've broken the first rule of non-violence and the third rule of non-stealing? He said, what do you mean? I said, you want to practice Brahmacharya celibacy to make yourself happy with no consideration of this beautiful woman next to you, and just thinking of yourself. Don't you think that's height of violence? Do you think she deserves it? She's not ready for Brahmacharya. Does she deserve it? And then I stopped to think, and I said, you're stealing her joy just to get yours joy. Is that yoga? And then he goes, okay. He got the message. Then another time I had another student, also male, and he was practicing Brahmacharya. He was a great yoga teacher, really amazing. He had a lot of vigor, a lot of energy. He was, because when you practice it, you get a lot of energy for a long time. But he was so angry. He was always angry. And he was taking a course with me. And one day I called him, I said, why are you so angry? You're a yoga teacher. You do the postures beautifully. You're a wonderful teacher. But why do I see you so angry and so rigid? He says, well, I have to have the vigor, don't I? I practice Brahmacharya. And I said, well, it's making him really miserable. And I said, you sound like those stories I hear about, priests and monks and people who go into the priesthood thinking they're going to find God, get so frustrated, and then sleep with the altar boys. I said, do you think that's any good? I said, look at the anger you have. It has to come out somewhere. You're not ready for it. Look at it has to come out somewhere. When you are ready, God will tell you, be guided, but you're not ready. So it's like you're just not ready to go into the fire, and you want to go into the fire. It was almost like I gave him permission to be human, to find God. From that day, he changed. But what was really interesting about it was, in those days, and still, when I do the long course, all the students have to give about 5 or 6 talks, right? So I had talks written in little pieces of paper, and they had to pick it off the hat to see which talk they was going to speak on. Guess which one he picked up? Brahmacharya. And he looked at me and winked. And then, anyway, he got married. Very nice marriage for a few years. And then, what happens? He has zero control. You're a good-looking yoga teacher. All the men are going to come. All the women were coming.
Oh, men too.
Yes, it was. And all the women were coming to him. All the women. And it happens, right? You read about it all the time. John Friend in, which was it, a big yoga school recently. They found that he was sleeping with all his students, and you had, which was the other one? There's been so many. There's been so many. Sleeping with one student and another. Over the ages, there's been, the Guyana tragedy was the other one, where he started off so good, but no control over the senses. So they started, so he started sleeping with his students. Guess what? Trouble. His wife, the family, all breaking down. The students heard about it. The word went around. Collapse of his reputation, of everything. And came to see me. So, you see why you always have to practice moderation? You have to practice control of the sense continents. You have to practice control, because temptations will come. Temptations will come to everybody in this life, not only yoga teachers, everybody. And you just have to, what are we searching for? Peace. So we're looking for pathways to peace, and not pathways that create more negative karma and more pain in our lives. I said, if you want to be with somebody else, you don't lie. You broke all the rules to your wife. What? You lied? Non-stealing. You stole her happiness. You were violent, because while he was cheating on his wife, he was very rude to her. He was just very rude to her. He treated her like dirt. And I know, because you told me. And it is so amazing that she's such a good person, and when he came to the reality of it, she was so willing to forgive him and love him, because she saw the diamond in him. And he said, you're right, you have to practice moderation. And he went through the two extremes of this sutra to find the balance. You see, nothing is wrong, it's just all the learning. Why? And what is the goal? Peace. So here, many people misread this, and of course, when you practice moderation, you have control. The sperm is the most powerful hormone in the body, as you know, creates a child, creates life, right? That's how powerful it is when it comes out into the world and what it does. So you imagine if you have moderation, being householders, moderation, and you're able to control, not too much, not too little. Don't ask me too much or too little for anyone, because everybody's different. Some people will say once a week is too little. Some people will say once a week is too much. Know yourself. I say go for the quality and know yourself, know your partner well. Make it quality and not quantity. That's what I advise people. Because everybody's body is different. Everybody has different needs. And you need to understand this yourself. Make it quality and not quantity. And that's what I suggest to people. Well, who was that? What point was I about to make? Do you know?
The balance between extremes.
No,
Yeah.
the sperm's...
Yes, thank you very much. So it's so powerful. So when you preserve it, it goes up to the higher areas, what they call the higher chakras. And it's such a powerful energy that it gives you magnetism, and it gives you a lot of vigor. But when you conserve this energy with anger, it doesn't work. It has to be natural. It has to be joyfully, because anything with anger just doesn't work. But here Sri Patanjali is telling us, and you can see from our life, that it is a problem in this modern world that people don't have control. And you can see from yourself how many relationships have been destroyed. How many people have said, but it was just a one-night stand, you know? Yeah, but one-night stand has created a lifetime of pain for somebody else. Isn't it true? And then it takes 5 years to build up the trust again, or 10 years, and that's so sad. It's just such a waste of energy and time. That's all. You know, our life on earth is short. Why do you want to waste it with more trouble and more lying and more, you know? And I find that people that have adulterous relationships, the question that I always ask them, why are you here seeing me? If you're having that relationship, it's supposed to be making you happy. Why isn't it? Why are you on antidepressants? You should be happy, right? If it was right, you'd be saying, oh, I'm really happy, I'm having 2 relationships and 3. No, but you're lying, you're telling me you're a nervous wreck, you're anxious. Is it worth it? And when they really think about it, and they understand it, oh my God, what am I doing? What have I done? I'm a nervous wreck because I'm stressed, because I lie all the time, and because I lie all the time, and angry at my partner, I blame them, I make them feel small, I make them feel bad, because I want to blame them, it's their fault that I'm doing this, and all that stuff. So they need antidepressants because they're lying to themselves and they can't cope with life, so they get more into the adulterous relationship because that 2 minutes of wow, it becomes like a drug to them, and then they become addicted, so there's more lies, and then there's more trouble, and then one day they're discovered and everything falls apart. And they go, oh, I've lost my children, I've lost my family, I've lost everything I worked for, my home. Do you see, there's just, Sri Patanjali is very wise. It was always a problem of mankind. If we know the story of Helen of Troy, right? And how many other stories have we heard throughout history? So this is what it's saying here. Be aware of the force of this great energy, you know, and you know, the sexual process is very beautiful, and it's the only time when 2 people can become one. It's the only time, so it's very beautiful, and it should be treated with respect and love. It is a great gift from the gods, great gift for human beings to be at one point one. But when it's dissipated out of pleasure, and when it's not consumed in love, and this was the gift of love to us, but when we misuse it, abuse it, and treat it badly, it gives a feeling of sickness afterwards. And this is what people tell me. You know, with all the problems, I have heard again and again and again the word afterwards, when they've gone through it and it's done and over, when they've done something like that, is I feel sick. It's interesting. Really interesting. So that's what Sri Patanjali is telling us, you know. And so by this you get vigor, and you gain strength, and you gain courage. And of course, if you learn to restrain any of your senses, you really do like yourself, don't you? If you're able to say, you know, if you're on a diet and you get your favorite chocolate coming along, you're able to say, no, I'd love to have it, but no. How good do you feel about it? It's such a small thing. Of course I'd like it, but no, it's not good for me. You like yourself afterwards, but when you go, oh, I really want it. First, it makes you nervous because you really want it. Second, you take like 10 hours to decide whether you're going to have it or not, and then you do go and have it after 10 miserable hours, and then you don't like yourself. And that's exactly what Brahmacharya is. Isn't it true? And then you go, why don't you just say no and stick to it, you know? And this is the decision and the strength and the vigor it gives you when you practice controlling the senses, you know? And one of the great yogic practices I tell people who come to Brahmacharya later, which is control of the senses, is know where your weaknesses lie in any way, you know, emotionally, know where your weaknesses lie with, you know, maybe food or any kind of addictions. And if you see you have a weakness, learn to control it. Even in mood swings, if you know you have a weakness with anger, every time you get the anger, learn to control the mouth. Imagine a zip, your mouth. You know, I know that when I spew these words out, I'm going to hurt so many people. And then you imagine, you practice. You learn to control that thing that controls you. Remember, we're here to enjoy life. And our desires are meant to be fulfilled. But when you have desires that are not good for you, when they control you and you don't control them, it always leads to trouble. Haven't you noticed? But if you can control it, is there anything wrong with having a cup of coffee? No, if you can control having 1 cup of coffee. But most people are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. At the end of the day, they're like this, you know. Nothing is wrong if you know how to control it. But when it controls you, I can't, unless I have it, I can't. When it controls you, that's when you need to get a little concerned, because your life is being controlled by something else. Is it worth it? I don't think so. I think it's really nice to be in charge of your peace, and this is our free will. They talk about free will. This is our free will. But we're not taught in schools to develop free will. We're not taught in school to strengthen our spiritual muscles. Well, I was in my school. It was a Maryknoll Convent School in Hong Kong, and boy, were they tough. But they were kind nuns. I was one of these lucky people that had great nuns as teachers. They were American nuns, but they were wonderful. Some people haven't had my experience. Some people really had terrible nuns, and they really don't want anything to do with, tough schools. But I was brought up with in a very strict but loving atmosphere, and God was wonderful, and we used to sing, lovely songs like Spirit Up on. The nuns used to come up with the guitar, like, what's that movie, Sister Act?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're nice nuns, they were modern, and they didn't let us sing these boring hymns, but they let us sing, really lovely hymns in modern with guitar and music. And I remember that when it was May and we had to celebrate Mother Mary's Day, because I wasn't a Catholic, but I always loved to help. So I was always invited to help and make the beautiful tables in the courtyard and fill them with roses. And we would sing the song to Mother Mary, just saying Mother Mary of May, and sing in the garden. And really the nuns used to sing with us, that I just used to think, wow, I love Mother Mary. And so I still do. In my garden you will see a statue of Mother Mary. Because she always represents to me this beautiful divine energy of love and goodness. And why? Because of what you've been given as a child. Memories make a lot of on who you are. So, we need to give, but we're not taught in schools these lovely things today. If you're taught religion is really bad, good, this, that, it's not with singing, it's not with laughter, it's not like God is this wonderful joy, and Mother Mary is this wonderful mother that even if your earthly mother is not perfect, at least you got a lovely heavenly mother. And that's what happened to Paramahansa Yogananda. Yeah, his mother, he had a really good mother, and his mother died at the age of 9. When he was the age of 9, and he was crying and crying and crying, and he had a vision of the mother divine, and she came to him and she said, "Why do you cry? You lost your earthly mother, but you will never lose me. I'm always with you." And so from that day he realized that his heavenly mother was always with him. And so when people have not such good mothers, I tell them, well, you know what? At least the heavenly mother is still with you. And no matter how not good your mother may be, you have to accept the fact that she did bring you here, so thank you for bringing me on this earth. And many have been fed and taken to school, and when you've been sick, at least she's looked after you, so she can't be that bad, can she? Can't be that bad. Be grateful for that even. So from Brahmacharya to Mother Mary, I really don't understand.